AEE! Life, Shadow. The very name of this camera evokes memories of my teenage emo days. Black hair, black clothing, black eyeliner, black GoPro knockoff. Oh, maybe that's what they were going for, being like Hero Black, Life Shadow? I don't know. Well, is it any good? I paid 28 Canadian dollars for this camera and I kinda want to return it. But we're stuck with it now because it's past the 30-day return cycle. Woo! Yes, it does have real 4K at 30 frames per second. Yes, it does have a touch screen. Yes, it was endorsed by Red Bull. But aside from relatively good overall video quality, there's not much else going for this camera. It comes in excellent packaging, even these little details on the boxes are a nice touch. Just very few overall accessories included. The mounts and accessories themselves are pretty high quality, but do expect to spend another $20 to $30 on some additional accessories in order to get advanced functionality. This camera only includes the basics. Build quality of the camera itself is pretty good if you love fingerprints. I'm actually quite a fan of this flat design. No protruding lens means that if I accidentally put the camera face down on something, I will actually just scratch the glass still. Never mind. It's unique though. It definitely stands out from other knockoff GoPros. It's also much smaller, which is pretty cool. User interface is the worst. It's just the worst. We'll get to that in a minute. I want to show you the good things about this camera first. So 28 Canadian dollars, I don't usually expect real 4K, but this camera delivers real 4K at 30 frames per second. Those of you keen-eyed who spotted on the box Ambarella, well, yes, this camera does use an Ambarella chipset, which is one of the higher quality, higher end chipsets for GoPro type cameras. But this camera really goes to show that even a high-end chipset and a high-end brand name endorsement doesn't mean you can just shit out a product and expect it to succeed. Video quality itself is pretty good, especially considering the low price I purchased this camera at. At its full price, however, it is closer to other budget GoPro clones that have 4K at 30 frames per second with image stabilization. If you are interested, I will put it side by side with something like the Victure AC960. This camera, Life Shadow, Life, XX underscore Shadow Darkness, Life Heart underscore XX. That was not my old Tumblr username, please don't look that up. This camera is pretty good at reproducing distant detail. Almost, in fact, too good at reproducing distant detail. Check this out. It's my face. And my face is blurry because this camera is so focused on the horizon. Anything that's within about 3 to 5 feet is out of focus, and it's quite noticeable compared to other GoPro type cameras. Firefly X, Life Shadow, Firefly X, and Life Shadow. So how about that handheld walk and talk footage? This is for those of you who go cool places, but really only want to show off your face. This is me talking directly into the camera with the camera held out in front of me about 2 feet away. This is what it sounds like. So how about that handheld walk and talk footage? This is for those of you who go cool places, but really only want to show off your face. This is me talking directly into the camera with the camera held out in front of me about 2 feet away. This is what it sounds like. And now walking a little bit faster, jogging vlog, and yeah, that's what it looks like. And now walking a little bit faster, jogging vlog, and yeah, that's what it looks like. So as you heard in that brief interlude, audio quality is also kind of mediocre. Night clips are pretty dark, but yeah, it's like they did no customization whatsoever to this camera. Check out the user interface, and this is going to be a bit of a rant here. I could make an entire video about everything that is wrong with this camera's user interface. Part of it has to do with the touchscreen being so small and unresponsive, but to me it just feels like they've taken the stock user interface provided by the camera chipset manufacturer and done zero improvements whatsoever. This is the kind of UI that you would see if you're just like the guy programming the camera, not the actual end user. It's a prime example of how to not design a user experience. Let's start with the buttons. The top button starts the camera recording. Good, that's pretty normal. But while it's recording, the top button does nothing. The front button instead is the one that stops the camera recording. These two side buttons, one locks the screen, one turns on the Wi-Fi. Yeah, these are fine. They're kind of useless. I mean, the vast majority of time where you're locking and unlocking the screen or using the Wi-Fi, you could have accomplished this through other means like screen timeout or on-screen buttons. They're kind of a waste, honestly. I would have rather had a button that actually enters the menu or switches modes. No button on this camera switches modes. You have 4 buttons and none of them can switch between photo and video mode. Instead, you have to go like this. Swipe from the side on this terrible touchscreen, and now you have the options to switch between modes, right? Okay, that's fine. Let's go back to video. Oops. Instead of having your video modes like time-lapse broken into its own separate menu, you have to go under this main screen here, go to settings, tap on video, and now you're presented with these options. And then that means everything else is in this one giant list on this really tiny and hard to use touchscreen with these buttons that are just, it's inaccurate to say the least. So let's check out one of these submenus. How about resolution, right? So we want to change the resolution to 4K. We have to scroll up. Come on. Resolution, come on. Scroll up. There we go. This tiny, tiny menu with these tiny, tiny inaccurate buttons, and give it a tap. Thing is, right, if you're in this menu and you want to get out of this menu, what do you think you're going to click? This little X in the top hand corner? Nope. Nope, that does nothing. That does nothing. In order to quit this menu, you have to tap on the resolution button here. Makes no sense whatsoever. This camera would have been far better served with 3 options, resolution up here at the top, and this X being a working back mode. And yeah, so this video I took was actually like 5 to 6 minutes of me just pointing out all of the problems, and I've only highlighted the top end ones, the ones I found the most important. But the icing on the cake, the topping on the pie, okay. The worst part about this camera is the stability. I could look past all of these other little issues if the camera turned on, recorded video, and turned off. And it does, like 90% of the time. Yeah, 9 out of 10 times. Every so often the camera would just randomly crash as it's recording. It gets quite hot when it's recording, and then just maybe that's the reason it shuts off. Either way, if the camera turned on and did the one thing that it's supposed to do, take a video, save that video to the memory card, then it would have gotten a pass. It would have actually gotten a buy recommendation, because even at $40 to $50 US, which is what I've seen it on Amazon.com, this camera has substantially better video quality than any other camera at that price. All of these other little problems, these things make me want to pull my hair out while I'm reviewing these cameras, and I don't get that often. Even the cheapest of the cheap budget action cams tend to have their menus laid out in a reasonable way, so long as they have a touch screen. This camera just makes me sad. That Amberella badge on the front meant that I had high hopes for this thing. A cheap camera based on a high-end processor? Yes, give me. But yeah, nah. All of my hopes were dashed. All of my dreams. This camera murdered my firstborn? No, not that dramatic. I mean, it works. If you really want to roll the dice on this and can put up with the terrible user interface, it works. But personally, I would not recommend it, and I'd hold off until something better comes along, or spend a little bit more money because there's actual usable cameras around the $100 to $150 price point. Hey everyone, thanks for watching. This was a little different vibe than my normal videos. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give this channel a subscribe. I am not very highly subscribed. Anyways, got Patreon too. don't really post videos that often, but if you feel like throwing me money, feel free. Links are in the description, and hope to see you in the next one.